All right, y'all. Today we're looking at this boudoir photography business, and for its local searches, city searches, we're going to see if it has BSS. So we're back here in the GBC universe. So we take declining boudoir photographers, make them into the #1 boudoir photographer in their city. As always, our North Star is FSIC, full spectrum intent capture. More of that, and like the pinned post or whatever featured post on this profile. And that's because FSIC explains why all boudoir photographers either rise or fall. So for Ryzen, we're probably getting everyone across the entire intent spectrum, the intent ladder here. High intent on the left, lowest intent over on the right. And if with Watt photographer, their business is falling, probably missing chunks of people here in the intent spectrum. So here we talk about way on the left, BSS. So we're focusing on the highest intent people, the people searching for boudoir photo shoots in their city right now on social media and in Google search. So closest to the money, easiest to close. And way over at the other end, that's the lowest intent people in our city. Got to reach them with interruption ads via Instagram and Facebook. Maybe they know what boudoir is. Maybe they've never heard of it. We got to educate them. And so that's what we talked about on our other brand, Boudoir FB Ad Doctor. We talked about BLCS. And right now we're only working with boudoir. Over there, we're only working with boudoir photographers, spending more than 10 grand per month on boudoir Facebook ads. All right, so boudoir search sameness, BSS. That's when a boudoir photographer has either 0 or 1 slots on Google, on page 1 of Google search for the highest intent keywords. So 0 slots, we're going to be dead soon if we got 0 slots on page 1. That's because we know approximately 80% of Google searches never go past page 1. They're page 1 only. So that means approximately 20% go to page 2 and deeper. So we care about this 80%, the bulk of the market. This is who we're going to focus on. So if we got 0 slots, we're visible to 80% of the market, which means we're basically an invisible business. If we got 1 slot, we're still essentially invisible because we look the same as everyone else. If there's 10 organic slots page 1 on Google, if other peeps, if there's 9 other boudoir photographers than us, that means, we got 1 link same as everyone else, and a buyer's just going to go down page 1 Google search, control click, right click, open a new tab, everyone, shoot a message to everyone, get price quotes, compare pricing, and price shop, everyone on page 1. But if we can get more real estate on page 1 and fewer competitors on page 1, we actually get price shop less. Now, 0 or 1 slots on page 1 on Google is not normal. It's extremely common, but it's not normal. It's actually the symptom of 2 deeper root causes. Those 2 deeper root causes are market saturation, which basically everyone knows about, and the previously unknown root cause, which we now know, is actually the false belief of page 1 equality. So market saturation, that's when someone gets a new phone, they are a new iPhone, they throw up their own Google My Business profiles and then now shoot boudoir. They got their own website. They're trying to compete with us for page 1 Google supremacy. And as a result, we also got people getting a new camera, then they start posting the mom groups on Facebook, and they also offer boudoir photography. So market saturation means more sellers to the same number of buyers. That's literally what it means. It means it's harder and harder for each seller to win. So everyone understands also big market saturation happened during COVID. People couldn't work, people lost their jobs, and they had to, big flood of boudoir photographers came into the market then because people had to, because they needed to earn money somehow. Now, the previously unknown root cause, the second one, is the false belief of page 1 equality. And what that is, so the default belief of page 1 equality, which kind of people automatically accepted, they didn't really think about it because there was no term to actually describe it, is actually kind of assuming or just accepting that, every boudoir photographer gets either 0 or 1 slots page 1 on Google for their website, and if the market gets saturated, it pushes off page 1 to page 2, because some new websites ranking higher. Well, that's how it is, and that's simply how it is. Whatever, that's the game, and hopefully someone deletes their website, so maybe we can get back on page 1 and Google lets us back in. But no, that is 100% false. That is a false belief, and we have to simply accept that. What I've discovered is Google will actually give us as many links and slots on page one Google search as we want to put in the effort to acquire. And I use this strategy that we're going to talk about to go from 0 out of 10 slots on page one to 9 out of 10 slots on page one in Google search in 10 days. So we'll talk about that in like 3 or 4 more pictures here. Next up, we know that Boudoir photographer with BSS, Boudoir search sameness, is a disappearing Boudoir photographer. So if we got 0 slots on page one, we're on page two, we're invisible to the 80%, approximately 80% bulk of the market. Disappearing Boudoir photographer, we got disappeared onto page two. And if we're, one slot on page one of Google, then we're also disappearing because we're not visible. I mean, people don't see no difference between us and everyone else on page one of Google. Literally nothing different. And there's going to click and price shop plus everyone down page one. And again, approximately 80% of Google searches never even go to page two. So we don't got to worry. We literally don't have to worry about page one. And disappearing Boudoir photographer, basically it's the canary in the coal mine. If one becomes a disappearing Boudoir photographer, pretty soon thereafter, the boudoir photography business will disappear as well. But now we have a solution. So we now know that BSS is treated with social search saturation, aka our S-cubed methodology that we invented. And again, this is exactly the strategy, the methodology I use to go from 0 out of 10 slots on Google page one to 9 out of 10 slots on Google page one in 10 days. And this is the only strategy for boudoir photographers that I've seen that can actually successfully fight back and against market saturation and continue to grow market share. And so it works by, and we'll go deeper into it, but the name, social search saturation. We saturate social search for our highest intent keywords. There's kind of like the feeder rivers, small feeder rivers from the Andes Mountains and to the Amazon. And kind of all that reputation, the keyword dominance on search flows into the Amazon River, page one Google search, and the pages thereafter for what we want to rank for. And so, yeah, this is the only thing that I've seen that successfully fights back against market saturation and basically kind of makes it null and void. Because imagine we're in Las Vegas, imagine there's 1 million boudoir photographers total, we're one of them. Everyone's got a boudoir photography website, everyone's trying to rank on Google, page one Google. But if we crank up S-cube methodology to the maximum, and let's say we rank, the first 300 slots across all social platforms for search, and as a result, we also rank the first 300 slots Google for search for the highest intent keywords for boudoir photographer buyers. Then anytime a buyer in our city literally searches anywhere, most likely Google, 90% of searches still, approximately 90% of searches still happen on Google. Then we got the first 300 slots and there's 10 organic slots per page. We got the first 30 pages all to ourselves for the organic slots. And all the other competitors in organic, they start on page 31. No one's going to page 31. So even if the market's ultra saturated with 1 million boudoir photographers, whose business is still growing? Ours. Whose business is disappearing? All the other boudoir photographers, because they cannot be found. And guess what? Approximately 80% of Google searches never go to page two. They're page one only, which means we really only got to worry about page one and take as much, we say GBC minimum of 3 out of 10 is what we want to take. But, S-cubed methodology gives us a pathway to take as many slots on page one as we want, if we put in the effort to acquire those slots. Now, once treated with S-cubed methodology, we have page one visibility. A bonus of this is every new slot we take on Google page one is we are kicking a competing boudoir photographer off page one, effectively making them invisible. Again, that's because we actually know that approximately 80% of Google searches never go to page two. They're page one only searches. And that's all we care about. This is the bulk of the market, the approximately 80% of searches that happen like this. Now, page one visibility activates boudoir search visibility for us. Now, our GBC recommended is always to hit 3 out of the 10 slots on page one, and that helps with boudoir search visibility because everyone else is going to have most likely one slot on page one. So when they see 3 versus 1, when buyers see 3 versus 1, they're instinctively going to say, wow, why is Google recommending this person so many different times. Um, you know, I'll just go with this person that's got the 3 slots. There is a tiny, tiny, tiny chance that another boudoir photographer will have 2 slots, but those tiny chances are 3 slots will always overwhelm them. So that's why we want boudoir search visibility. And a boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility is a visible boudoir photographer, a VBP. So this is our full micro universe here. A disappearing boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness is caused by market saturation and the false belief of page 1 equality. We now know it's false, but when people believed it prior, they never thought to try a solution to overcome it because they thought it was just the default, just how it is. But we've proven, we'll see in the next picture, proven that that's incorrect. We now have the path, we now have the solution, our own proprietary S-cubed methodology to achieve page 1 visibility, become a visible boudoir photographer, and to have boudoir search visibility. So my results using S-cubed methodology for myself. So I want to rank for the term BLCS boudoir. So I employed S-cubed methodology. Go down to the organics here. So we got organic slot 1, Instagram, me. Slot 2, me. Slot 3, me. Slot 4, me. Slot 5, me. Slot 6, me. Slot 7, me. Slot 8, me. Slot 10, me. So I went from 0 out of 10 slots to 9 out of 10 slots, Google search page 1, in 10 days, exclusively using S-cubed methodology. And I was using on the minimum setting, like kind of the minimum, kind of the minimum frequency. So you can see the results that I got. Now, onto the main event here. We're going to see if this boudoir photography business, see if it's got BSS for its local or its city search, see if it's hitting the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 page 1 slots on Google. So let's get into this. We're going to Germantown, Tennessee, and Memphis, Tennessee. All right, see what we got here. We're in Germantown, Tennessee. All right, let's see what we got. Oh, we got 1. All right, so we got 1 out of 10 for local search. Let's go to city. City is always harder to rank for. It's more people competing. Oh, nice. We got organic slot 1. That's great. We got 1 out of 10. All right, so we got 1 out of 10 here. So we got 1 out of 10 for local. We got 1 out of 10 for Memphis. So yeah, we got BSS for both, and we are hitting the GBC universe recommended minimum. A 3 out of 10. Neither of those searches. So if you are a disappearing boudoir photographer, you've got BSS, you did your local search and your city search, and you saw, you only got either 0 or 1 slots on page 1 of Google, and or you have not hit the GBC minimum, recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 slots on page 1. And you understand the page 1 equality belief, and now you're like, oh yeah, obviously that's false, when we didn't really even think about it before, because now we see how I got 9 out of 10 on page 1 of Google organic search results. And you understand the market saturation? Yeah. New iPhones, new boudoir photographers, new camera, new boudoir photographers. But you're also seeing AI take more and more people's jobs, and you're like, okay, like COVID brought in a flood of boudoir photographers. AI is taking more people's jobs, probably going to bring in a flood of boudoir photographers as well. So you want to prepare for the influx of supply of sellers by kind of fortifying your page 1 Google presence. So essentially never allow those people joining to show up page 1 on Google. And you see S-cubed methodology, and you're like, yes, finally, I've been waiting for something like this. So you want to use S-cubed methodology to achieve page 1 visibility, become a visible boudoir photographer, achieve boudoir search visibility. And also you want the back-end bonuses of using S-cubed methodology as well, which we haven't talked about yet, we'll talk about now, which is we're basically building thematic keyword columns via social and on Google that are kind of columns plugged into our brand, our basically name of our business, our social handles. And those thematic keyword columns, guess what? They increase the probability we show up here in the AI overview. They increase the probability we show up in AI search like ChatGPT search, Claude search, Perplexity search, Microsoft Copilot search, Google Gemini search. increase in the probability there. And last time I did ChatGPT search for boudoir photographers in the city, recommended me, it only gave me 3. And AI search is increasing every single day, more and more people use an AI search every single day. Still, Google is about 90% search volume, but we're kind of pre-positioning ourselves AI search, which S-Cube methodology helps with. And kind of once we build this kind of back-end invisible momentum, these thematic keyword columns that plug into all these, basically prevent people ranking on page 1 against us and build up our keep building up and increase our probability of showing up across all these AI searches. And you decide you want to be a first mover because this has got to get done. Start building up this momentum because, again, ads, momentum goes to 0 when you stop spending. This momentum will continue ongoing. Basically, these have momentum, not infinite momentum, but you decide you want to start the momentum and then keep growing the momentum to actually dominate page 1. And you also see that the further you put yourself ahead of the competition now, when AI starts basically kind of forcing people to become boudoir photographers, you'll be well positioned to be unaffected by it because you've already built up page 1 domination, which is like, dude, that's like 7 out of 10 slots or more. Page 1 Google, 8 out of 10 slots or more. And being recommended AI search, putting distance between you and everyone else. And you want to basically guarantee that you put so much distance, nobody can catch up. Instead of a competitor working with me, where plan right now is to only work with 1 person per city. Instead of a competitor getting all these kind of momentum bonuses and page 1 slots where then you would have to actually, if I were to continue work with them, you would have to rederive the S-cubed methodology on your own, figure out how to actually get it to work. And then you will never actually know if you're doing it correctly, how we've done it. And then you'd have to equal our output to maintain the distance kind of behind your competitor that I could be working with. And you'd have to kind of double our output to actually make up that lost ground and build back up the momentum and take it from us. So you've decided, well, it's better to simply become the first mover here. So we get all the benefits, none of the drawbacks. So if you want all these benefits, shoot me a DM when I open for new patient intake. I'm not currently open for new patient intake, so even if you want to work with me, you cannot. But when I do open up the hospital for new patient intake, shoot me a DM and we will see if you qualify.